mainstream media is the enemy of the people. That's the video. Drop a like right now if you're watching, and make sure you subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. But if you want the longer version, last night, the New York Times, BBC, every mainstream media outlet rushed to run a story on a claimed a terrible incident in which an entire hospital was wiped off the face of the earth. They knew exactly how many people were in it. They knew exactly who did it. And they ran headlines, not once, not twice, 3 times, in their insane bloodlust to be first to report it. And the entire situation is terrible. And I'm not going to go, down the political side of it. Everyone knows, if you haven't heard yet, my opinion is that America should stay out of it. The more digging you do, the more just terrible things you see. And I've never been less sure of anything my eyes are seeing these days. And this is without, AI and things like that. So in times like these, people still turn to the media. Well, you can see the New York Times, for example, BBC, many other people, all running the same story instantly, within minutes, right? Israel is responsible for this terrible thing that happened, wiping a hospital off the planet of the earth, at least 500, and then so they're showing 3 different headlines. First, they say, oh, well, they run the same picture, but it's like, oh, Israel did it. Oh, wait, actually, let's take Israel because we're not sure. Oh, let's run it. Now they say, oh, well, the Palestinians say this. Essentially, you see Ben Shapiro, who has been tweeting a lot, saying media reported Hamas lie. Mass protests and riots erupted in multiple Muslim countries. Muslim governments bought the lie and parroted it, and decided to cancel all negotiations surrounding an end to the conflict. Really well done, you truth-seeking peace lovers in the media. Essentially, again, it's tough to know for sure what happened anymore these days, but the prevailing theory right now is that first they said, oh, well, Israel did it. And then reports come out and say, well, actually, it was this other group that was an ally of Hamas who misfired. And that's what happened. So it wasn't Israel at all. It wasn't Hamas even. It was this other group. But again, nobody cared to wait for more information and report on it. Then we see pictures today. Turns out the hospital isn't even gone. Here's a picture. Here's a video of it. You can see footage shows that the hospital is fully intact. Turns out it was the parking lot that got hit. Now, is it possible there were 500 people in the parking lot? Maybe. So again, to summarize, the media runs a story and says, Israel did it. We know they did. This is exactly how many people lost their lives. And as far as I've seen, nobody has corrected it. Now, there are people that still, even right now, you see they released proof, a quote unquote proof, where they wiretapped somebody basically. So their leaders claim that Israel's proof over who's to blame for the hospital thing is an outrageous lie, despite them producing a wiretap call and video of a, quote, misfired rocket and satellite photos to prove that they didn't launch it. To me, the most likely scenario here is that it was, in fact, a misfire, and all the pictures and all this stuff is all just propaganda. The New York Times called it said a hospital is gone. Daily Light footage from Gaza tells a completely different story on how the international media was duped by Hamas to spread. Now, blood libel is a terminology related to Jewish people in particular. I think I had to look it up because I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's meant, essentially what they're saying is they're spreading this to impugn Jewish people or make them, look bad. The thing is, ultimately, nobody waited. They were like, oh my gosh, 500 babies? Yeah, let's report on it. I mean, we have the own president of the United States said it's just like 15 9/11s. What? If you have 15 9/11s, how many J6s is that? Like, what is he? This guy is a disgrace, by the way. No, it isn't like 15 9/11s. Okay? It's disgusting that he would even say that. That's neither here nor there, I suppose. And here's what's crazy. Okay? This is another news site, Daily Mail. I often use it. It has its leanings, of course. But, I mean, they run this article, right? Saying, look at all this proof. Look at all this proof we have, satellite imagery, phone calls. They show this thing. I mean, it's a pretty compelling story, okay? Now, I'm not over there, so I'm not going to pretend like I know any better than anyone else. But then they run this exact same, they run the other side of the argument. Does it have proof? Experts examine the dossier of, quote, evidence. They put evidence in quotations, claiming it was misfired, which says backed up by the lack of a crater and an image of shrapnel on roof. You see, experts analyze the IDF's claim it was not behind the thing that happened at the hospital. By the way, again, everyone's talking about who did it. Nobody's talking about how the media reported that the hospital was gone and it isn't. And that there were 500 plus people that were gone. That I don't see how that could possibly be the case. And the media is reporting this stuff. And you see protesters and riots and all this kind of stuff because they've got to rush. No visible signs of craters or significant damage to buildings. And then they show other examples of what craters look like when you have a missile come out of the sky. It's probably exactly what they say. But who even knows? The fog of war is real. You see images of the blast site inconsistent with an actual airstrike. That's what they claim. Now, experts say RUSI aerial analyst Justin Bronk agreed. No crater or obvious shrapnel pattern consistent with the type of thing that would come out of the sky. Still not conclusive, but if this is the extent of the damage, I'd say an airstrike looks less likely than rocket failure causing it in a fuel fire. Joel Rayburn, director of American Center for Levant Studies, says there is no crater and nowhere near the destruction that would be required to cause hundreds of people. So they ran the story, which was what people will say. I guess I don't know. The story is they screwed up. They have the audio where they allegedly admit it. Now it's just audio, and who knows? It could be faked, of course. But what it looks like is that they screwed up, and then they quickly said, "Oh well, actually Israel did it." And it was 500 people. And then everybody ran that story without fact checking it at all. Without waiting a single second, the media ran that story. The same site I use often, Daily Mail is capitalizing and profiting on both sides of the lie that they willingly ran yesterday. No apologies, no retractions, nothing. That's what's going on here. Does it have proof? Well, yeah. Everybody you quote here says, yeah, it's probably a misfire is exactly what happened. But they're still going to publish these articles and say, oh, well, we gotta make our money. There's a hospital involved. We got to make our money. But now you have even the U.S. government. Again, I know I have a portion of my viewers that don't believe anything anyone says. And it's probably an okay way to live because you're not going to get fooled very often. But this is what I have to go on. The U.S. has had an independent assessment that it was, in fact, a Palestinian group that wasn't even Hamas, that it was this other group, had a rocket that misfired. Like, so we know now, I mean, again, some people might say, well, yeah, of course they're just protecting Israel. I don't know, but I've not seen a shred of evidence anywhere that this came from there. But every media outlet reported it and was happy to and whip everyone up into a fury. The hospital itself was never hit. The parking lot was. And then calling out, I guess, all these people that probably jumped into those Twitter spaces and made that money. You need to apologize for spreading propaganda. It seems like your political commentary is rooted more in inciting more bad behavior against Jewish people than it is the truth. I mean, I don't even care about the Jewish people angle because the media machine is interested in whipping people up. They don't care if they're Jewish or not. I mean, look how they treated us during the coup. Look how they treated us. They kept telling us it was most fiery, but mostly peaceful, right? Don't believe your lying eyes. Believe CNN and a president who says it was 15 9/11s. It's just overall, it's just extremely disgusting. The state of modern media, journalists, journalism, not a single apology, not a single retraction. I'm sure the 500 number is complete fabrication, a complete bunk, unless there was like some sort of, I don't know, protest or something in the parking lot. It wasn't 500. Nobody's retracted this. 500 people where? It wasn't. And also the hospital is still there. You know, what other conclusions might we draw about the veracity of the exquisitely precise casualty figures the Hamas-run health ministry produces when infinitely more transparent Israel spent the better part of a week totaling them from October 7th? They had a number within something like 3 minutes or something like that. Every major media outlet ran this. Be careful. Be very careful. People get duped. You know, you can't, ultimately, I don't know what to believe. But I can say that the media has some level of responsibility in all this extra whipping up that they do to people. I'm sure this is, enacting people here in the United States to do things, All this kind of stuff is just deplorable, sad. The state of our modern media has never been worse. And it sucks for people that actually want to know the truth about things. It's hard to even, for me, I've been fooled before. I try to, own it when I do, something the mainstream media doesn't do, because they don't care. They just report the next thing that will get the goldfish spinning around in the bowl. Absolutely deplorable behavior. And we've got to just, I don't know, they got to do way better. They're not gonna though.